What time is it? It is Bible tea time. Let's dive right in. My brain doesn't know what to say first, so I'm going to start with this. In the book of Exodus, God chooses Moses' brother, Aaron, to be the high priest. The high priest is this man who gets to go into the presence of God, into God's house, basically, on behalf of the people, because not everybody is allowed in there because they are considered unholy, and unholy people cannot be in the same room as God. Otherwise, they're probably going to disintegrate and die. Not because God is mean, but because imagine that God is the bright sun and we don't have the proper clothing to step into the sun. So with our regular clothing, we're going to perish, not because the sun is mean, but because he's just that powerful. Okay, so now that my brain is all caught up, what made Aaron special basically is because, first of all, God chose him. Number two, he has to go through this extensive process of being cleansed and all these things. And then he has to wear a special robe, and the design was intricately instructed by the Lord. And so as I'm reading Exodus 28, it talks about how the priestly garment needs to have these little bells around the hem. And these bells, okay, let me read it to you real quick. Exodus 28, verse 34 to 35. It says, the gold bells and the pomegranates are to alternate around the hem of the robe. Aaron must wear it when he ministers. The sound of the bells will be heard when he enters the holy place before the Lord and when he comes out, so that he will not die. So I'm like, pause. What's the bells got to do with not dying? Okay, well, it turns out, and please don't think that I'm crazy as I'm saying this, okay? Turns out bells emit this type of frequency that causes, it promotes healing basically in spiritual cleansing. And I know, but please just bear with me for a second. Give me a chance. Because I get it. Even as I'm saying it right now, I'm like, wait, am I crazy? But okay, am I? Because look at this clip. Okay, right? Okay, and church bells? Where are they at right now? Why have they been destroyed? Where are they? Let's rewind a little bit. What was the purpose of a church bell? They didn't have clocks back then. When people would hear the church bells ringing, it is a call to pray. Okay, so now going back to my original thought with the bells, with Aaron, the high priest robes and everything, I'm like, wait, so are the bells ringing? Does that kind of give some type of barrier or spiritual cleansing so that he maintains that holiness as he goes into God's presence? Of course, after doing the other process and all that stuff, just, so he could be holy before a holy God so that he doesn't die. And if you're still here, first of all, thank you. But you're also wondering, wait, can frequencies and can music really drive away demons? Let me read to you 1 Samuel 16:23. Okay, quick recap. King Saul was being just tormented by evil spirits, and then he would call David to come and play his music. It says, again, 1 Samuel 16:23. And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubled Saul, David would play the harp. Then Saul would feel better, and the tormenting spirit would go away. And this is the last scripture I'm going to read to you. Ephesians 6:12, which says this, for we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in the dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. That's it. I'm going to leave you with that.
So if we go back in the 1930s, the Rothschild-Rockefeller Alliance, they began funding scientific studies to look at how musical frequencies can prepare the masses for war. And that's because they wanted to control people. They want that mind control programming. And so in 1938, there was a gentleman named Harold Burroughs Meyer, and he was a theatrical designer and a sound engineer. And he began developing techniques that would control the emotional response of audiences and to create mass hysteria. And so from there, you have this, this Rockefeller-Rothschild alliance. What they were doing is not only were they looking at ways to steer the masses, but they wanted to change the standard tuning of A to 440 hertz. So in 1939, they began funding Joseph Goebbels, who was the Nazi propagandist. And at that time, Joseph Goebbels, he wanted to change the standard tuning of A. And so he organized a meeting in London to do that. Now, up until that time, the standard tuning of A was set at 435 hertz, and that was from a conference in Vienna in 1889. But they wanted to shift it to 440 hertz. And so Radio Berlin approached the British Standard Association and asked if they would organize this conference in London, which was a total setup in which, the powers that be had control of what the outcome was going to be. And they didn't invite any of the French musicians because they were opposed to 440 hertz. And then the organizers of the conference, they interviewed the musicians, the instrument makers, the physicists, and then also the sound engineers. And if any of those people were against 440 hertz, then they weren't invited to the conference.
Way.
So it was all controlled. And, as a result, it's not surprising that the standard tuning of A was changed to 440 hertz. And that happened June 1939, just months before World War II broke out. And the timing of that is no coincidence because 440 hertz is a destructive frequency, and that, it can retrain our thoughts towards disharmony, disruption, and disunity.